On the popular show, Big Bang Theory, some of you have seen this show, one of the main characters, who's a world-class scientist, Sheldon, he decides to make all of his decisions with a roll of the dice. Because he says this will leave his brain clear of all the mundane issues of trying to decide things, and he can leave his mind clear to be brilliant. Because, he's brilliant and that's what he does. So he rolls his dice to see how much of his face he's going to shave, which percentage. He rolls his dice to decide what clothes to wear or not to wear. He rolls the dice to decide what items to order at the restaurant. And he rolls the dice to decide whether to stay in the room or whether to leave the room, or how to respond to social situations, like, do I care about what's going on or not? Now, the funny thing is that he does know what he wants. He's at the restaurant going, okay, roll of this or roll of this, right? Because he knows that what he wants, but one time he ended up with a side of succotash for his dinner. So, while this makes a funny gag on TV, it's pretty funny to imagine choosing everything, all the mundane things in our life with a roll of dice. It's also a great illustration of the power of will. Will is our power to choose. And we're going through all of the 12 powers this summer. Yay, 12 powers. And so the powers are innate powers that each of us have, and we can all use them to different degrees of excellence. And so we can underuse will, which results in being wishy-washy, kind of a pushover. We've probably all at least had a moment of that, and might know some people who kind of lived there. It's okay, it happens. We can overuse our power of will, which could result in very rigid stubbornness, or no interest or desires to see the facts or learn, get new information, and use that to, continue to make our lives better or change. So overusing will means that stubborn holding on to something. We can also abdicate our will, like Sheldon did to the dice, and just follow blindly the other choices that other people are making. But there's another choice, of course there is, or else I wouldn't tell you all this, and that is to exercise our spiritual power of will. Now, we've probably all heard some version of thy will be done, or God's will is such and such. And see, the problem with that is it can be used as a way of abdicating our power to have self-determination, because we do have that power of self-determination. And this idea is kind of left over from a more literal understanding of the Bible, where, God's will is what's making all these things happen. However, if we really believe that there's one presence and power, and if we really believe that we are expressions of this one presence and power, and that our purpose is to be the best expressions that we can be, then why would it also be okay with a thought that a separate entity is out there causing bad things to happen? You can't have both. The logic doesn't work out. So, things happen. They're usually consequences to someone's choice. So, therefore, divine will is for the best, most good, divine outpicturing of every situation. That's divine will. The getting there is sometimes the part that we have to practice, right? So, this is great. There's several great books written about the 12 powers, and this is from a super old one that I stole from my mom. I didn't steal. I took. She said I could. So William Warsh, and he said, will is always seeking good for all. As long as you are seeking good for all with harm to no one, you are moving according to God's will. If you are in a situation where you are seeing good, you must ask yourself whether or not your goal includes a disadvantage to someone else. If it does, then you are being willful. Until you see a wonderful possibility for everyone, keep listening. I've heard other people say, oh, looking for a world that works for all. This is the power behind that idea. Or, if we go with Reverend Linda Martell Whitsitt, who wrote the book that we're we're following this book for this series, called Divine Audacity. Isn't that a fun name? She says, spiritual will is not submitting my personal will to an invisible superhuman being told through any other person what I should or should not do, subjugating my conscious or consciousness to any coercive influence, including religious dogma, or imposed as a lesson or punishment. Spiritual will is our power of choice, commitment, and willingness. So where we all are at this moment is a result of choices. Many of those choices were our choices. Some of them are choices that are made by others whose choices have affected us. Like, I had no say in the decision for Alaska to become a state. I wasn't alive yet, even. I did, however, have choice in moving here. So there's all these different choices that are happening in the world. So they all affect, other people's choices affect us, our choices. It's all part of the big pot of what made us where we're at. So when we're not feeling great about a situation, or we're worried, or confused, unsure, adrift, we've all probably had a moment at least of being there. This is great. I know you're like, why? Why would that be great? Because this is an opportunity to activate our 12 powers. Yes, we got tools. See, what's great about the 12 powers? This is a great little analogy. You're going to like this, Sue. Okay, so the 12 powers are like a toolbox. And you know, when you're doing a project, you don't usually only use one tool in the toolbox, right? You usually need the saw, and maybe you'll need the screwdriver, and the planer, or something, right? You're going to need several different things at least to do any particular project in the toolbox, unless it's the simplest of projects. And that's the way the 12 powers are. Each of them are important and have a specific thing that they do, like the tools in your toolbox. But they usually need to work together to be the most effective. So even though we're kind of looking at each of the powers on their own, as we move further into them, we'll start to see how they play together. They're dance partners. So back to, we're in this place of things are yucky, what do I do with it? Because this is cool, because it's called divine discontent. It's a restlessness. And so it's divine, even though it's not comfortable, because it's urging us to make a new choice, to make a divine choice. This is a desire to see something different. And so this is, we can use our power of imagination to see what are the possibilities. Or understanding, to see a bigger picture. Or wisdom, to weigh all those possibilities, because we certainly need to do that. And we use zeal to check in to see what's alive and passionate in us. And with all of that, we get to choose. And from many possibilities, we choose one. And once we choose, we use our power of will to commit. And commitment is really sticking with a choice. Or we could see it as choosing again and again. Choosing that choice again and again. When in a relationship, we could come from the angle of, well, I chose this relationship, so now I'm stuck with it. Or we could see it as every day, every moment, I'm choosing again that this is what I want. This is what's important to me. So we use our power of will to make our commitment stick. And this is how we move forward to reach our goals. In college, I had to choose a major. This meant that I narrowed my focus and had to forgo other paths that looked kind of interesting and shiny but this is what I chose and this is what I needed to do. And this doesn't mean that I never could make another choice. I certainly could and did. But when you make a commitment, whether it's a business venture or a relationship or a spiritual practice, it means that I'm putting, this is where I'm saying, this is my line, for the foreseeable future. And when this happens, we activate a shift in our consciousness because we're no longer multi-viewed, but single-focused. So Reverend Linda says, getting onto the path, committing, harnesses spiritual power. The spiritual forces of creation are unleashed. We free our brains from vacillating unproductively. Anybody been there? The energy that earlier dissipated in indecision is now directed toward being on the path. So, choosing sounds like a very effective thing to do. See, this commitment also bolsters us through the part where we want to make excuses and stray from the path we've chosen. Anybody? When we remember that we've made our commitment, this is my commitment to my highest good. Our true desire, we can overcome our desire to allow our discomfort or compulsions or old habits, whatever, that want to, laziness. I don't know about you, but laziness wants to try to win. And I say, no, this is the commitment that I've made. This is how it's going to happen. I could lay in bed for an extra half an hour, but no, we need to get up and meditate because that's what we do. So making a commitment is following through even when all the stuff, life gives you all these excuses. Once again, Linda writes, if commitment is the sustaining power of will, willingness is the fuel that makes commitment possible. A willing spirit is the epitome of spiritual willpower. Willingness is the antidote to willfulness. So we make choices, we stick with them, but we also get to practice willingness or allowing. See, we also think that we might know each part of the path. We know this and then this and then this and then this and then these are all the parts of the path and that's how it's going to happen. And y'all should be laughing because you know that that's not actually how life works, right? So the trouble is when we, you know what happens when we stay rigidly attached to the map, right? That it doesn't work out so well. And so part of using our power of will is being willing to see when the new path that shows up is actually the continuation of the path. And so if we stay rigidly attached to it happening a certain way, new opportunities that could show up, we won't even see them, even though they're right there in front of our face. You know, there's that, you know, you could have driven by the same store for years, and then your friend says, hey, have you been to such and such? And you're like, no, I haven't. I'll go try it. And you go and you realize this is like the store that has whatever it was that you've been looking for all these years, and you've been driving by it. I mean, and we laugh because we know, right? These things happen to us. And that's when we're not open to seeing the possibilities that could be right there in front of us. It's kind of one of the fun things about moving to a new town is that everything is a possibility. I'm not even going to assume that I know what doesn't have what I want. I'll go to every single whatever in town to find and see if that's the place. Because how would I know if it's not? There's another part of this being thinking that you know every piece of the puzzle, is that I also believe that if you fully see every piece and you know that you can do them, you just have to follow through them, that you're not trying hard enough. You're not aiming big enough. Because when we move down our spiritual path, we grow and we learn and we become more. And therefore we're able to do more. So if we're aiming at something that was easily achievable 2 years ago, then we need to work a little. I mean, like, we could do more. We could do more. So when I was in a year into my ministerial studies at Unity Institute, 40% of labor was reduced at my job, including my job. So that was a path I thought I had all path planned out. It was we were working out pretty good. I was going to school part-time. I was going to work full-time. I was getting tuition assistance. They were being relatively flexible. I mean, I was working around schedules. Things were working out pretty good. Now, I didn't have a plan to willfully hold on to in this case. It wasn't like I had the opportunity to say, no, I'm not. But I got to choose. I got to make more choices. And so I had a day of being shocked and sad and confused and worried and all of that. And then the next day I got up and I went to work. Because we were having a big planning meeting that weekend with teenagers coming in from across the country. And my boss needed help to make it happen. First of all, she needed a second adult to be there, and I knew all the logistics, everything was going on. So what was I going to do? I showed up to work. I finished out my 2 weeks, though I was not required to or asked to. They said you can if you want to. And I just kept coming to work. Now, what was great about that is that because of that commitment, there was like, oh wait, something has to happen. Some funds were found to pay me on a contract basis to do that work. And it took them like 2 years to finally get rid of me all the way. Because of they kept finding money for me to be able to do contract work. And what was really great about being a contract worker, my schedule was even more flexible. And no, I didn't have the tuition assistance, but I was able to then get scholarships. And you know what? It all works out, right? And so I didn't say that, okay, well, now this way is broken. Now I have to go find a full-time job. Or I'm like, okay, there's got to be another solution. And the solutions continue to unfold as I stepped forward doing the things that were mine to do. I knew that doing this event, even though I wasn't originally going to be paid to do this event, was important. And I needed to be there. So I was going to be there. And of course, it didn't just pay off in that, yes, the money showed up or that the event turned out great. You know, when you work in the unity movement and you're as young as I am, I'm going to be around for a long time. And positive regard is always very good currency to have. So it worked out well for me that way too. It's part of seeing the whole picture. So part of our choice is to make choices clearly. That's another thing that kind of around this power of will and choices, because once we've made a commitment to something, we don't jump past every time there's a hiccup or a distraction, because otherwise we're a dog at the park. And if we feel that divine discontent that's bubbling up, instead of giving in to drama or being wishy-washy, this is a time for deepening our spiritual practice. Instead of going, it's time to go in and ask the question. Spend the time. Spend a little more time in meditation. Spend more time being open to wisdom. Take the time for discernment. Take the time to put more appreciation into whatever situation you're wondering if it's time to change the commitment. Which just seems kind of backwards, right? But maybe whatever's missing is actually your time and attention. And then, when you become clear about what's yours to do, make a clear choice and act on it. But don't go kind of, well, maybe I'm doing the whole like maybe dance, which leaves everyone confused and causes lots more trouble. I was thinking about in that place between willing and willful. It's a very fine line, or can be a very fine line. And I was thinking about all these athletes that are trying out for the Olympics and all of this. I mean, these people, they made a choice to their sport, right? And they keep going, and they get up at crazy hours in the morning to go practice, and they just keep the path, right? And they keep making the choice. And they keep choosing their sport. And many, many athletes at some point choose to make another choice and they choose not to follow that sport. And that's okay too, right? And they have to follow their wisdom to know when it's time. And I was thinking about that line between willing and willful, because I was thinking about how easy you could stubbornly hold on, even though there's a part of you that knows, like maybe there was an injury or something like that, and you could like play through the pain, but that's not always the right thing to do. You have to give your body time to recover, or whatever it is that's the right thing in that particular situation in the sport. And so you can actually, you can push over into willful and hurt yourself and cause you not be able to follow that choice. Or you can stay open to knowing what the right path is. Well, maybe it's not to try out this time, or maybe it is, or maybe whatever it is. And so I just thought that was really, I was thinking about that and thinking about that tenacity that you have to be a world-class athlete. And yet you also, to be a world-class athlete, have to pay attention and know when it's time to not push. Very interesting place of awareness. That's why we always need to go back to meditation. Because that's where the answers are. So, in summary, spiritual will, God's will, is the will that's best for all. When we use our power of will, we consciously make choices that improve our lives and create good for everyone. When we are willing, we open the storehouse of possibilities that may be greater than we ever could have imagined. So Linda has these great affirmations in the book, in our meditations section. And so if you are willing, I invite you to repeat them after me. And when we say affirmations, we like to say them with oomph. Even if you get the words wrong, you want to mean it, right? So, I am willing to boldly reach for my next goal.
I am willing to boldly reach for my next goal.
I am willing to stretch beyond perceived limits.
I am willing to stretch beyond perceived limits.
I am willing to walk with confidence into my future.
I am willing to walk with confidence into my future.
I am willing to courageously decide what I will have, do, and be.
I am willing to courageously decide what I will have, do, and be.
I am willing to risk being vulnerable in relationships.
I am willing to risk being vulnerable in relationships.
I am willing to listen without feeling threatened.
I am willing to listen without feeling threatened.
I am willing to experience the joy of living today.
I am willing to experience the joy of living today.
I am willing to be purposeful, to know I am divine.
I am willing to be purposeful, to know that I am divine.
Divine will is my spiritual name and nature.
Divine will is my spiritual name and nature.
I am willing to be the light of the world wherever I am and whatever the circumstances.
I am willing to be the light of the world wherever I am and whatever our circumstances.
So it is.